Okay, so today we are discussing the disproportionate amount of crimes that are committed by men versus women. Um, I'm going to be talking and pulling stats from the 2015 UCR to talk about this kind of gender gap that we see. So I'm just going to go question by question. When information was interesting or even surprising to you? Personally, for me, I thought the rape stats was really surprising. I know that sounds a little bit dumb, to be honest, but I didn't realize it was in such a large percentage. I thought it'd be more like 80-15 or even 90-10, but it's literally 97.1 versus 2.3%. That means that out of the 2,238,335 women that were charged in the UCR this in the 2015, 514 of those women committed rape, whereas it was almost 17,000 men. And that's even if we look at the total, which kind of ties into the next question. In your opinion, is there a bigger picture that these statistics represent? Definitely. I think it shows just on a grand scale how much more likely men are. They're almost 2 point. I think it's around 2.4% more likely to get involved, or it's closer to three, than women to be involved in any sort of criminal activity. Because out of the 8,305,000, I'm just going to estimate, like round up, uh, 6,067,000 of that were men. So literally over half, over half of that was just men alone. What does research say about the gender gap in offending? Well, the research shows us that, like I talked about just a little bit ago, men are much more likely to involve in criminal activity than women. How are drugs, poverty, crime, and prostitution connected for many female offenders on the streets? To me, this shows that a lot of women, I think drugs are kind of the gateway into all these crimes because what I've seen and personally, like after my internship in Orem PD, they kind of talked about it a little bit with me of like I was a property intern, so I had to find this stuff. But we saw that a lot of the women who are addicted to drugs, they would be addicted to drugs and they'd want to get another fix, so they would end up committing property crimes to get more money. And then when they couldn't steal anything else, or like their families had kicked them out, they resorted to prostitution. And so for me, I think that just shows the big connection right there. It's kind of like a vicious cycle that just keeps going, and then it just kind of ends up them being prostitutes just to get another hit of whatever drug they're abusing at the time. The next question is, what role does mental illness play in cases of women who kill their children? I think it shows a very prominent role, especially after reading today. I reread the chapter and saw that those 5 case studies about the Texas women who had killed their children. I think it plays a huge role, especially if it's not recognized and dealt with quickly, or they're not prescribed the correct antipsychotic pills that are necessary in order to combat that. I know I'm going over on time. I'm sorry. I only have one more question, but it plays a huge role because that's kind of what makes them do that. Like there have been times where a woman's accidentally killed her child, or just she went out the deep end and had just kind of a psychiatric breakdown, basically. But for the most part, you those stories you hear about women killing their children are usually the lynch key. There is the fact that they had some sort of underlying mental illness that wasn't taken care of or wasn't recognized by their spouse, and they were off their meds and they just killed their children. The next question is, what type of violent crimes do women most typically engage in? Well, from what I found in this, it just, I don't know exactly violent crimes. I would say just kind of, that was a tough one for me because a lot of it was, I think the highest percentage I saw was aggravated assault right there. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll hold it there for a minute. But yeah, like I said, was aggravated assault because you could see, not aggravated assault, sorry. Yeah, it was aggravated assault at 23%, which means that 66,000, almost 67,000 women out of the 2.2 million that were arrested had committed some sort of aggravated assault. So I think that's a little bit more common. That was like the one I saw them typically engaging in, but this is actually really eye-opening for me, and it did kind of make me question my own opinion on what women go through. Sorry about this video being so long.